questions. What would it take to hire Lily? Can you wait till May?
Wow. What does it take? Can you wait till May? I don't know.
Tim's never getting a weekend off.
Looking for people who have. Well, we would like to have the weekends off. We're always looking with people with energy and enthusiasm. And I see the energy and enthusiasm with you. I think that's always a good sign that you have that spark to kind of be a self-starter and all those things. That's a big thing in a first job. A lot of people have to kind of, trod through a small market and kind of make their hay and do a lot of things. I used to joke I would change the oil on the news cars at the first place I worked. That wasn't totally true, but it almost was. But you're going to be in great shape. I think so. Wherever you end up, you're going to do great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So what is something I always like to tell people when I bring them back to my class? We do this sometimes with people that have been in the business. I have them come in my class, and so I'll use, since Jeb can chime in on this as well. What is the one thing, Tim, that you wish you knew in your first job that you know now?
Ooh. I wish that I knew how you were always kind of working. I don't know that I knew that at that point, but I'll tell you, we're coming up on hurricane season. If there's a storm coming our way, Brad and I are working on Saturday and Sunday, whether we're on TV or not. If it's the winter time and there's a snowstorm that might be coming, oh boy, you're working quite a bit. I went to the Orange Bowl to watch Penn State this past January lose to Notre Dame, and I flew back at 7 the next morning because we had a snowstorm here the next day.
Man.
So those things happen.
That is true, actually, and it's funny when people ask me what is your schedule? I'm like, depends on the weather. I'm like, when am I normally at work? It's like, it feels like you are always working. That's a good one. Jeb, what about you? I mean, you've moved around a little bit. What do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Yeah, I think just understanding that this is a different job than all your friends have. It's a public service. It's your hours are dictated by the news, by the weather. So understanding that, your hours might be 9 to 5 in air quotes, but you're going to have to work whenever the news dictates it. So that was a learning curve when my friends would invite me out and be like, ooh, I'm staying late because there's a snowstorm or there's big weather. So that was a big learning curve year one.
My family still doesn't get that. They're like, Dad, why are you going to work? It's like it is weird. Like your friends, and I think you probably dealt with this already, Lily. Is like your friends are like, oh, what do you mean you're gonna have to go to work, or what do you have to do? It's gonna be weird.
They thought it was crazy. I work 11 to 7.
All right. Well, congratulations, Lily. We're gonna miss you. The show will not be the same, but you made it better. So hopefully going forward, your imprint is on this show. So thanks again, everybody. Vanessa Rufus will be next, coming up here on WCNC Plus.
Thank you so much for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. If you've been following us over the last several hours through our evening newscast, you know we've been keeping an eye on a breaking situation in Atlanta. We're getting some updates on that active shooter situation. Just moments ago, Atlanta PD reporting that the shooting suspect in this case is dead. We also previously told you that an officer had been injured during the response to this active shooter situation on the Emory University campus. We don't know the extent of their injuries or the nature of the injuries. We want to turn now to our sister station in Atlanta and their continuous coverage underway as we speak.
Area we're hearing. Wow, that gives you chills because that was rapid and extended, and that's what officers were facing in those first moments.
And again, it goes to show you that's what they were going into, and I always bring this up, that's what they train for. In 2025, they rush to that scene. Their number one priority is to engage immediately and not wait. You've seen the FBI there. What is going to be one big question at this news conference? They likely won't answer it for us, but a motive. Where did this guy come from, or this woman? We do not know the suspect's identity, but again, it was outside Emory Point. CVS telling NBC News National that everybody in their store was safe. In fact, NBC News reporting that they were told by the corporate of Target that this happened near their store. So we're wondering if this happened just out in the street and what was the intended target here. That's something we hope to learn in this news conference, which we will bring live. And just a programming note, probably the most least important thing, but we know we get people that call in. Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy are on the WATL at 7. So that's where those are at. If you're joining us to watch your nightly Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy, that's over on the WATL, and it'll start at 7, which is already under programming. But the reason we are on the air and we're staying on the air is because one of the men or women who signed up to protect us every day, no matter how much heat they take, lost their life protecting a community and protecting those folks there outside the CDC and all of those people who live along Clifton Road. That's why we're staying on the air, to learn more about this officer and about this heroic act this officer carried out today, because again, the sources are telling us this was one, if not the first responding officer who engaged with this suspect and likely could be the person that took him down.
And thinking of everyone impacted, the tens of thousands of people in that area who heard the gunfire we just heard together, who saw the police response, who were hiding behind file cabinets or in closets, staying away from windows because we've seen bullet holes through windows in that area, and the impact to everyone who had somebody they care about who was in the center of all of this. That is a trauma that the city is sharing tonight, along with the loss of the officer. We want to send it to 11 Alive reporter Zach Merchant, who is at Emory Hospital. Emory Hospital for a time had been on lockdown. That's where the DeKalb County police officer was taken to, who we now learn through our sources has passed away. Zach, I understand you're talking with somebody who works there at the hospital.
Cheryl, we are. We're talking to Michael here. He's an employee. He works here at the hospital. Michael, first off, are you okay? Is everybody you know okay?
Yes, sir. Everybody that I work with and all of us in the respiratory department is okay.
Can you describe what you saw and what was happening as the day unfolded this afternoon and evening?
It was a regular day for me. I got a text saying that it was an active shooter, and at the time I was just sitting down in the break room, so I just kind of stayed in the locker room and just stayed there for the time being. When you get a text like that, what's the first thing that you do? What's the first thing that goes through your mind? I mean, that's got to be your nightmare. I didn't think it was real. I didn't know what to make of it. Maybe it's a situation that's like maybe someone's having an argument or something like that. I didn't think it was be active, multiple people, And now we're getting this news that this officer has succumbed to their injuries. I know we were talking just before we came on air here. You were saying you're praying, you're sending your thoughts out for them and their family, right? Yes, definitely. Condolences to the family, to the law enforcement that protect us. Thank you. Please be safe. God be with you. Yeah, it's just really tragic.
Does the team at a hospital like this train and prepare to respond to incidents like this?
Yes, we do. We definitely do.
Did that training kick in today?
Yes, for sure.
Just describe to me, we want to be respectful of your time. We'll let you go in just this moment here, but I want to ask you one last question. For the hospital community here, you all see tragedies. It's your job is to help people. But when something like this happens, how does it impact everybody who works here?
I think it from a psychological standpoint, I feel more anxious a little bit. It's very tough. It's very tough, but we are a big part of the environment, the society, and we have a big job to do, and we're going to continue doing that.
When you hear the news that this officer, as we're reporting, was the first one on scene rushing towards this threat, how does that hit your heart?
It's really unfortunate. Condolences. It's very unfortunate, but he's a very brave man. Just condolences to the family.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you for your time. Glad you are okay.
Thank you.
Guys, we're going to send it back to you now.
All right, Zach, we really appreciate him sharing the perspective. I know for everyone who's been in that area, it's really kind of all sinking in. You know, the first text alert came out just after 5 o'clock with all caps saying, run, hide, fight, avoid area, active shooter. So just soaking that moment in, then the 2 hours that happened since, the news of the loss of a DeKalb County police officer, the first officer on the scene, confronting that active shooter in an area where people were at the CVS. We know there were people inside the CVS when this happened, and we have just gotten confirmation from CVS that no one in the store was hurt. We know from the CDC headquarters, diagonally across that Clifton Road rather, intersection, that nobody there was hurt, and that building was not breached, so that shooter was stopped in that first location. But to give a better understanding of what those first responders dealt with in those moments and what everyone who lives in that area heard happen around them, we want to take a moment in just a second to listen to some of the video of those initial gunshots. I just want to give a little warning for anyone who might feel the trauma of that. You're going to hear gunshots in just a moment as we pause together now to listen to what happened in those first moments when law enforcement confronted this active shooter. So rapid shots, extended gunfire between that shooter, who we can report has been killed. That single shooter from Atlanta police, we can confirm, a single shooter who is now deceased. So now you heard all the gunshots. This is some of what happened because of those gunshots. These are images that were sent to us from someone who lives right above the CDC as they're looking out their window towards the CDC building. Pardon me. They live above the CVS where the shooting happened, looking towards the CDC building, and you're seeing bullet holes in the glass of that building. Again, we can confirm from the CDC that that building was not breached in any way.
And that matches what we're hearing from people there in that area. We are working to contact some of the businesses there by phone, because obviously we cannot get there in the Clifton Road area in front of the CDC where these pictures were taken. But I can tell you there is a salon there. It's called Skin Culture Spa. They have told CNN, they've reached them through the phone, that they saw the police officer shooting at a suspect around the corner from the CVS, and this person telling CNN, the spa employee, quote, and then I heard the Emory CDC siren go off, and then it was completely silent after that. You heard like 4 to 8 gunshots continuously, and then silence again. So again, this is an employee at the spa there under the apartment where we just saw that those bullets in the window. So there were a lot of people in this area that witnessed this who are impacted by this. And this is the area you're looking at. So Clifton Road there is at that intersection. And that is the totality of this. How many people were involved? We believe that was one of the officers' vehicles because the back window is shattered out. The engine block looks to be shot up because of the liquids out there. And I'll tell you something that stuck out to me. I mentioned this a little bit ago, but there was a white vehicle parked outside that CVS. It's been there since we started coverage, and it's in the crime scene with the hood or the back of the trunk open in it. So if you notice when we come back to that shot, you'll see it up there, and it's curious if that's involved in some way. But what's going to happen now, obviously, when you have an OIS, officer-involved shooting, we know officers return fire. You'll have the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They will come in to do a parallel investigation. You'll have the ATF. They will be on scene to look at that gun. Where did this gun come from? The FBI is there because we don't know if this suspect is a local. Did they cross state lines? The FBI has resources that local jurisdictions don't. They have access to a lot of databases. They have partners across the country who can help them. So there's a lot of parallel investigations, and I can tell you, I know for a fact, and what we're working to find out, if this is a local suspect, and you see police at a house next to you swarming that house, this is tied to that. They work backwards now. The suspect's down, the threat is over. While they're clearing that campus, they're going to work backwards. Who is this person? Where do they live? Where are their parents? Where are their relatives? And they're going to go to those homes and start that process, and they want to find the vehicle too, because we've seen this, Cheryl. Anytime you see these national stories where there's an active shooter, sometimes they find things in the vehicle. You know, sometimes it's a manifesto, sometimes it's explosive devices. Not saying that's here, but that's why they have to work backwards to make sure there are no other threats we don't see.
And then once they locate an address, if it is local, then there's a warrant to get a computer, to get a phone, to find out what the communication has been, all to answer the question that all of us share tonight, which is why. Why take a weapon into a CVS in such a busy part of the city on a Friday at rush hour? Why would someone do this? That is ultimately the point of this investigation. And as Cody mentioned earlier, law enforcement is singly focused on that question as they are mourning the loss of one of their own. Knowing that someone is down, you're looking at the entrance to Emory University Hospital, where we know this DeKalb County police officer was taken. Why? Because it's the closest hospital to where this happened, and time was clearly of the essence. We see the perimeter still in place. You see cars coming to the entrance, and it just makes my heart sink because you know there is a family arriving at the hospital this evening. And they have made a sacrifice too, as that officer, as we've been able to confirm, was the first officer on scene. And obviously, long before we were reporting it to you, a family got a phone call about what happened there on the intersection off of Clifton Road today.
And we do know that a news conference will be happening soon. We got a 15-minute warning. However, we know with these types of news conferences, they can be pushed back. But you saw that was the news conference area. APD's public information office is out there. They'll be leading that kind of coordination. So I would say 15 to 20 minutes, we'll get our first official. We have not heard anything from law enforcement except when the shooter was down and that a law enforcement officer has been shot.
Yeah, and that came shortly before 7 o'clock from the city of Atlanta, where they gave a safety update. That was right about the time that the shelter in place was lifted, when they were able to give that information, because there was a long period of time, there was a question with law enforcement, was there a second shooter? And they wanted to make certain that was not the case. And when they were certain of that, then the all clear came. They were able to say a single shooter who's now deceased, the law enforcement officer who was injured. They were able to just confirm the injury. It's our sources telling us that a DeKalb County police officer has died. Again, we expect to hear more about that officer and potentially the shooter in this press conference. And we have heard from other officials. I just want to share the statement that came in from Governor Brian Kemp. His statement reading, "Twice this week, deranged criminals have targeted innocent Georgians. Each time, brave first responders rushed toward the danger to subdue the shooter and save lives, reminding us just how crucial they are. Marty, the girls and I are thankful for all those who answer the call to serve and who protect their fellow.
Hi, everyone who's joining us here on Live Impact News. Just now, we've been listening into continuous coverage from our sister station in Atlanta. That breaking news update just moments ago, really sad news following that active shooter situation on the campus of Emory University. Sources telling WXAA, our sister station there, that unfortunately the DeKalb County officer who was injured in a response to this active shooter situation has unfortunately died. We're also told by police that the shooter is dead as well. The lockdown has been lifted. There was a shelter in place for a couple hours, and that is now cleared. However, authorities are still telling folks to avoid the area because this is still a very active scene, as you can see from some of these live images. And in case you missed that quick update just a few moments ago from our anchor team out there in Atlanta, there is a press conference that is expected at any moment. So keep it here. We should be hearing from officials momentarily with more detail on what exactly took place, what is to come, and maybe they will share more about this fallen officer. We'll send you now back to that continuous coverage in Atlanta.
That is the white car that has been sitting there. Earlier, the SWAT team was around that white car to the top of your screen to the left.
Doors open,
Yes.
hood up,
That's, the
right
SWAT
by
team
the
was all
entrance.
over that car earlier and it has not moved.
And we saw when that crime scene tape came up, it was outside of the
Yes.
car that you see, the white car Cody was pointing out, and the officer's vehicle that was shot out.
And I'll tell you, this DeKalb County Police car, I would say it has more than a dozen bullet holes in the windshield, in the hood, in the side of it. So it's almost as if this deputy or this police officer pulled up and instantly took on gunfire or was hiding behind that vehicle. But I can tell you, there was a barrage of bullets. You heard Cheryl played that video a while ago. You could hear it from neighborhoods, but there had to be dozens of shots fired. That's that vehicle at question. The front of that vehicle is riddled with bullets.
Cody and I are looking at a still image on our computer right now, and I'm just counting the bullet holes I see in the front between the hood and the windshield. I've counted 16.
And again, we don't know, was that officer, sometimes they shoot from inside. If you're taking active gunfire, they are going to shoot immediately. So we know for a fact this was a large shootout. We saw some of those bullets flying to the apartments above the CVS. That's, we'll probably hear from those folks in the coming days, but that's what's so important when they put these shelter in place. When you hear this, you hit the floor. We're so in tune to go to it. Even as journalists, we want to rush out there. We want to be a part of it to show you what's happening. But in those initial few minutes, this is a perfect example. While law enforcement say get back, because you never know how far those bullets are going to go. You do not know the type of ammo they're using, the type of gun they're using. But we saw now all of those bullet holes, and that's the thing this will be a crime scene, I assure you, past midnight tonight, because right now they're still trying to clear the campus. It's 10 acres, a lot of buildings. They're going to make sure there are no other devices. There's nothing that this suspect left behind that could be a threat. And then the investigation starts, Cheryl. Again, we have been hearing, we know that an officer was killed, so they have a homicide investigation. They have an officer-involved shooting investigation, a deadly officer-involved shooting. They have a suspect who's dead. Then they have to figure out who is the suspect and work backwards. And they have to find all of those bullets. So if there are bullets in those windows of those apartments, those people will be out of their house because that's a crime scene. They have to find the bullet. They'll go in the walls. They'll pick those. there is so much investigative work that now has to start.
And if you're not familiar with this area, let me just explain what you're seeing. These are the bullet holes in the glass of the CDC building. So this would be the perspective if you were at the CVS where the shooting happened, looking across the parking lot to the CDC headquarters building. The bullet holes you're seeing are in that building, and I'm guessing it's a football field away. So from where the barrage of bullets we heard together on that that cell phone video happened, some made it all the way to the CDC headquarters building, which is why when those messages come to shelter in place, it's so critical to heed the warning right away, stay away from windows, stay as far back as you can, because that was not the intended target, but bullets went through the glass of that building. And if you're just joining us, I just want to reiterate, we did hear from the CDC that the building was not breached. No one went inside that building. Nobody was hurt. So you understand how fortunate it is when you see those bullet holes that no one was next to the window sitting at their desk when that happened, and they sheltered in place in a way that was safe. And we're not talking about any civilian injuries, because Emory University is right there with 20,000 employees. The CDC is right there with more than 11,000 if they're working in the building. That CVS there, we know there were people inside the store 5 o'clock on a Friday evening when this happened, and then the apartments right above that first floor CVS. And we're hearing from a lot of people who live there who heard this all happen and had no idea at that moment what was happening. And I'm glad that we're not talking about any civilian casualties, but we are, mourning the loss of a law enforcement officer here in the city.
I do want to bring this up just because we're trying to just be transparent. What we see out here, a lot of times I'm in the field, so it just happens today I'm here in studio, but I've been out to the CDC, and something that I just was pointed to is a lot of times they have protesters out of the CDC every day at the CDC entrance at Emory Point.
Sure, we've seen that.
And that's typically where they stand, is on the edge. So it's, did they witness this? Was there some alternative motive? Because I think a lot of the CDC employees are on right now social media saying, hey, it wasn't us. We got stray bullets in our windows, but it seems like everything happened
right there
at the entrance area on Clifton Road. Because again, my source originally said 1600 block. Then we heard from APD. They responded to the 1760 area of Clifton Road, and it's all at that CVS area. And then witnesses telling CNN they saw them shooting at the suspect around the corner, which is where that car is parked. And I will tell you, where that car was parked and we looked at, they usually stand on the other side. So there's a lot of things happening here. And I think anytime I said you hear CDC, it's very controversial with what's going on in our political environment.
Certainly.
And I think that's what caught a lot of attention. But this should catch attention anyways at this point, because again, we have a law enforcement officer down at this hour and a suspect, and a lot of questions what led up to this. And if you are just joining us, typically we're not on the air at 7:22 here, but just kind of reset everything. Around 5:02, Cheryl and I were in our newscast at 5. We got this word. We believe there might be an active shooter, and that's when Emory College put out that retweet to hide, fight, or run, that they had an active shooter near Emory Point at that CVS, Cheryl. And I think that's when we were trying to figure out, where is this happening? We saw a massive response, and out there you have agencies from all over Metro Atlanta. You had fire, EMS, you had state agencies and federal agencies. They trained for this, and all of them came together on this stretch of Clifton Road right here and contained this scene. And they did what they practiced, what they trained for. And this is where it all went down. Right here at this intersection is where this happened, Cheryl. And we know the shots rang out around the 5 o'clock hour. I would imagine if the alert went out at 5:02, this shooting had to happen a little bit before there to have time to even know that this is what's going on and to get that out.
And to send the alert out. We know that Emory Hospital was locked down. We know schools in the area were locked down. We know of memory care centers that were locked down. That's all since been lifted. And as people sheltered in place for a long period of time, there was discussion about whether it was one shooter or two shooters. Atlanta Police has since confirmed it was one shooter. That shooter is deceased. As we're seeing some perspectives here from people who were taking video outside of windows as they were sheltering in place, all of this right around that Emory University and the Emory Hospital right there. And at 7:24, I can tell you that we are on par, according to Atlanta Police, to start a press conference at 7:30. We know Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens is there. Atlanta's Police Chief Darren Shearbaum is there. We assume DeKalb County will be there, as well as we're hearing a DeKalb County police officer has died in the line of duty. And DeKalb Police in the history of its department, has had 32 line of duty deaths. The last one, Sergeant Daniel Marcus Mobley, was hit and killed by a car in January of 2021. That's the last time that department lost one of its own. This investigation still very much in the beginning stages. To your point, Cody, we know where the confrontation happened between police and the shooter. We don't know what brought the shooter to the area. And that's an important point because we're talking so much about that CVS. But you're right, there's a lot happening there. The university's there, the hospital's there, and CDC headquarters are there. So as you're following along with us, just know that is something we don't know the answer to because it speaks to the motive and the why. We just know that that's the place where the confrontation happened.
And I think it's interesting too that the APD chief, Chief Shearbaum, is going to lead this with the Atlanta mayor, even though this isn't a section of DeKalb County. But obviously, when you think of the city, it's in Atlanta, so they are going to take the face of this. And I'll tell you, Shearbaum, he takes heat a lot, but typically when he does step up to a podium, he does not hold back on a lot of things. He will put as much out there that he can.
That's true.
The mayor will too. Obviously, the attention of the country is on Atlanta right now as this has went out nationally, but I imagine Chief Shearbaum is going to give us as much as possible on this suspect without compromising the investigation. Of course, a lot of things we put out there throughout the night, but he likely will give us some good information on at least what transpired on Clifton Road.
All right, some really important new information coming in from our partners at CNN. CNN is reporting that law enforcement sources are saying, after speaking with family members, that the shooter believed he was sick or became sick because of the COVID vaccine and was therefore targeting the CDC. The CNN is reporting that the CDC is still on lockdown.
That's interesting. Of course, they have their own sources. We have not heard that, but I will tell you, of all the places this could have happened, it happened across the street from the CDC. And I will tell you, just as a journalist trying to go to the CDC, it's like going to the FBI office. You have to give all of your credentials. It's on lockdown. It's very hard to get in there. And who knows if he was on his way? That's the question I have is, the initial response, why was that DeKalb County officer there? It came in as an active shooter. Did he just start shooting at the building? And like I said, if that is true, again, these are all sourcing. No law enforcement has confirmed this, but CNN obviously is here in Atlanta. They have a lot of good law enforcement sources, and everybody's wanting answers. But I don't think they might be too far off, considering this did happen in the street at the entrance of the CDC, because it doesn't make sense. Why at this apartment complex? Why at the CVS? He wasn't inside. That's questions maybe Chief Shearbaum will answer, or at least say that's something they are looking at. But if you are just joining us here as we approach the 7:30 hour, this is where it happened. That is a DeKalb County police officer's vehicle that was shot up just around the 5 o'clock hour. It appears the shootout went down at the intersection there at Emory Point Place and Clifton Road, right near the gates of the entrance for the CDC, right outside of CVS. Many businesses along that stretch of Clifton Road. This is a big thoroughfare that people go through to get home. This has been shut down all afternoon. It will be throughout the night as there are multiple investigations underway. But of course, everybody wants to know, why this happened. Who is this person? And I will tell you from sources now, they are literally having to clear every single building. There's also, obviously, there's a daycare there. I'm told they're having to clear that. They've been holding kids there. We're talking dozens of kids there. And again, they don't believe, we thought there might have been a second shooter. Anytime you hear of an active shooter like this, you always have to consider a second shooter. So that's what they did. They went through it, they were thorough, and now what they're doing is looking for any other threats, because they don't want to leave this and then find out there's something there tomorrow and more people could possibly be hurt. So they're working backwards, they're clearing buildings. We're talking 10 acres, I think, or I'm talking 10,000 acres, 24 buildings here. That's why you have the large response here as well. A lot of different multi-jurisdictional investigations are underway. This crime scene is very large. They will use technology to try to find the bullets. The GBI will actually do a 3D image of this. The GBI has a machine that they will bring it out there and reenact how this thing went down. Because even though the shooter is down, that investigation part's over.
Right.
They will look back on this will be used for training, how they responded, and of course build a case because was anybody else involved? Just because he might have been the sole shooter, was somebody else involved? Did somebody else know that this could happen?
The plan?
So that's the thing. There's a lot of things. Mental health. What was his mindset? And did someone know that he lived with family, that these threats were out there? Social media. Had he been making threats? And a lot of that will start coming out as we go through the night. People are already dissecting the social media. Law enforcement trying to shut it down first. But that's why the FBI comes in, because they have really good tools that can really dig into the.
Bottom of the hour now, folks. We wanted to check in here if you're just watching and tuning in at this hour on Live Impact News. We've been in continuous coverage, courtesy of our sister station in Atlanta, following that breaking news of this evening, the active shooter situation, which has now ended, but certainly some sad impacts to report tonight. We have learned at this hour an officer with the DeKalb County Police Department is dead. The shooter is dead as well, according to police. And we are expecting more updates from officials at any moment. In fact, one of our feeds we're watching here on Live Impact News, just off to the side, we see a podium set up with reporter microphones and folks standing around waiting for authorities to arrive. We're told at any moment they can come to the microphones. There you see it. They could be giving us a briefing on all that they can release at this hour, at least, regarding the shooting. This is a shelter-in-place situation where we now know that the shelter-in-place has been lifted. And even though that is wrapped up, authorities are still asking folks to remain in their homes or remain inside as they're able to, as this is still a very active scene and a very active investigation. Worth noting, and you might have picked up on this on the coverage over the last several moments, that this is very, very close to the CDC. And there is the potential, we're hearing from some sources, giving information to reporters there in Atlanta, that this might have been some sort of targeted situation of a medical nature, if you will. So with that, we'll send you back to continuous coverage there in Atlanta, courtesy of our sister station. In any moment, potentially an update from authorities.
Who heard the gunfire. As we played the video of the gunfire, there were dozens of shots, and that is in line with the video we're seeing as Cody and I have looked closely at this vehicle right here, a still image of this car, that law enforcement car with the shot out back window, and we counted more than a dozen bullet holes in the front windshield and the front hood of that car. As in the very early moments that we were live with you on the air right after the 5 o'clock hour, as we were watching SWAT members running towards the building, we saw officers crouched next to that vehicle with their guns drawn in those initial moments after the response. And then it was about an hour and a half later, they started setting up that crime scene tape, building that perimeter where that investigation is now focused around that law enforcement vehicle and the white car there next to the CVS with all the doors open and the hood popped. And to make sure, there it is, that's the white car we're talking about, that we're wondering is the suspect's car and perhaps could be leading other investigators right now to gather the information that could answer the question about why CNN saying that there might be a link to CDC according to their sources. Cody's working his sources, our newsroom, we're all working the sources. That question has not been confirmed. Again, any moment now we expect to hear from police and the mayor and other city officials about what other information they can share about the shooter, about the officer who's down, and any hint to a motive about what's played out here in the city of Atlanta, in DeKalb here today.
And here you can see Chief Shearbaum. He's on the left there. You see Mayor Dickens. He's right in the middle. That's a lot of the command staff for APD. The woman in the white blouse, black skirt there, she is the head of the Public Information Office for APD. They have a lot. Now you see the woman behind her or in front of her. She's in the black polo. That is the Public Information Officer for the DeKalb County Police Department. They are the ones that disseminate all the information to us that we send to you. So they prep their chiefs. They prep the mayor as well. They're all talking there. That is the command staff for APD and the DeKalb County Police Department along with the mayor. And of course, a very tough day for DeKalb County because we do expect them to walk out and confirm what has been told to us by sourcing. It's also been reported by national outlets is that we have a law enforcement officer who was shot and killed today. And you see the guy right there in the blue with his back to us. That is Tony Thomas. He's from the FBI. He's a spokesperson for the FBI. So it does look like while APD and the mayor might lead this, they're going to have their national or their federal partners, local partners. She's likely coming over right now to tell us a 2-minute warning, but I believe she runs a tight ship. This will start pretty much on time because, again, they know people are watching. They know this is a big situation. They know they've lost an officer, and people want answers because this impacted not just that area, but we're talking daycare there, employees, people who are out and about today and saw this response all over the city.
If you're just joining us here expecting to see Jeopardy, obviously we're covering an active shooter that was at the Emery Point CVS there on Clifton Road. The shooter has been taken down by law enforcement, but our sources tell us that a DeKalb County police officer has died in the line of duty. All of this unfolding as tens of thousands of people had to shelter in place, which is why we have continued our coverage here on 11 Alive. We are airing Jeopardy right now on WATL. If you are looking for Jeopardy, you will find it on WATL. We're going to stick with you here through the press conference as we anticipate getting a lot of new information. They have delayed the press conference for a bit here, but that is because it's really critical that there is some coordination between the different jurisdictions, between law enforcement and the city and the FBI to make sure they're all on the same page and they get out the information that is correct. They're also wanting to be sensitive to the victim's family here and to all law enforcement families who are feeling this and to the community that has been impacted in a number of ways through this today. So they're taking the time they need to get the information sorted out that we'll share with you here as soon as they walk up to the podium.
And even as we're waiting, they are getting new information because this is a very fluid situation. Our own Grace King even saying that she is there near the podium, and they say that, again, this is evolving. They're learning new information as we speak, but it does appear that Mayor Dickens and Chief Shearbaum will be the only two addressing this situation. They will be backed up by their partners there, as I mentioned. That's DeKalb County Police there behind them. That is also the mayor as well who will be speaking. That's the FBI back there and other locals as well. They are getting briefed on the situation, but they will walk up. It's likely they will allow. Chief Shearbaum usually does take questions, and that's when we will ask, anything that he doesn't answer, because even though he does try to give as much as possible, this is a very complex investigation.
And better to hold some of that information close to the vest. At the end of the day, they don't want to compromise the investigation in any way. This is obviously a high-stakes investigation. There are a lot of moving parts. They're going to be as forthcoming as they can, but they are going to protect the investigation and also be sensitive to the families. The families will have some of the say of how much information is even given about a victim. And so we're expecting that to happen momentarily. As the CDC has been more and more part of the conversation about potentially maybe a reason the shooter came to this area, I want to mention that as terms of communication from the CDC, the only confirmed information we have from the CDC is that the building was not breached, meaning no one got inside the building. We do have pictures showing bullet holes in windows at the CDC. I'm on the CDC X page. They have not released any other statement that I see in terms of that, but we understand the CDC campus is still on lockdown, which I think is interesting because a lot of other places have been released up to this point.
And I think that matches what sources are telling us is that, again, we're talking a 10,000-acre property with 24 buildings. I mentioned there's daycares there. I'm told, there's over 100 kids in this daycare. I know CNN was reporting that they talked to a mother on scene. She ran over a mile to try to get to her child. This impacted a lot of people. And this is, if you're just joining us again, this is where all of this unfolded, we believe. Maybe that white car there at the top of your screen has something to do with this. It's been there. The SWAT team was around it. That's the CVS there in the far upper side. This is where all agencies responded around 5 o'clock to an active shooter call. We understand the mayor and Chief Shearbaum with Atlanta Police are walking up to the podium. There might be be a little bit of silence, but here comes Mayor Dickens right now. Let's take a listen.
Good evening. My name is Andre Dickens. I'm the mayor of the city of Atlanta. I'm joined here today by Atlanta Police Department Chief Shearbaum, Atlanta Fire Rescue Chief Smith, as well as FBI SAC Brown to my right, and the DeKalb County PIO Officer Wells. We're just a few of the individuals and teams that are here that's been on scene for the last 2 hours as I've witnessed the coordination amongst many of this active shooter incident that occurred today on the campus of Emory University, just off site of the CDC and next to this CVS pharmacy. This active shooter incident started this afternoon, and Chief Shearbaum will give you some of the details regarding that. I witnessed over the last 2 hours a very coordinated response. A lot of training had to go into how these men and women of Emory University, DeKalb County Police, the FBI, the City of Atlanta Police, Fire and Rescue from both DeKalb and the City of Atlanta, the GBI, Georgia State Patrol. I saw officers coming from all over to be able to respond to this incident. At this time, Chief Shearbaum will give you more of the details, but at this time, the shooter is deceased, and we don't have any civilians that have been shot in this active shooter incident. Thank God for that. We do have a DeKalb County officer that was also shot. And at this very moment, the CEO of DeKalb County, Lorraine Cochran Johnson, as well as the police chief of DeKalb County, are at the hospital right now meeting and talking with individuals, the families, and other officers that were involved having to respond to this emergency situation. They will shortly come to this very same spot to give a press conference and an update on that officer and that incident. And at this time also, on the CDC's campus, there are 92 children that are in a daycare that is on this campus. They are safe, and we are setting up with the CDC and all connected parties to be able to get those families reunited with those children at a local school very nearby. And we have the address of that. That Chief will give you the specific address and name of that school nearby. So we are working to unify families, and at this time, there have been no civilian casualties, but this was an active shooter incident. The shooter is now deceased. The campus is, there are no threats on the campus currently, but we still have an active investigation. Atlanta Police Department will be the investigating party. And so we ask that while things are safe, that you don't drive in that part of campus, because we need to make sure that the investigation goes through without any obstruction. Again, to the men and women that work at the CDC, we know that you've had a tough go of it in the past year. And my heart goes out to you as uncertainty was around your occupation and you being citizens of Atlanta. That means something to me. And then today, this occurs. We are with you. We stand with you. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that we bring resolve to the situation. And FBI SAC Brown, he may be able to tell you more about some of the windows that might have been shot on various floors of the CDC as gunfire did take place. The other thing is to those parents of those 92 children that are at the CDC. I'm a parent as well. I know your uncertainty and your fear and your concern has been high. We wanted to come give you this message that all the children are safe and that we will be making sure that you get reunited with them as soon as possible. I know your heart is just really, really aching, but the good news is none of them have been injured, and we will get you connected to those, to your loved ones really soon. I'll come back to this microphone after others will be given a chance to speak. Now I turn it over to Chief Darren Shearbaum, as Atlanta Police Department has been in coordination with all the other outstanding agencies as we've been working together. And this is why we train on active shooter drills, et cetera, around this region. This has been a group project and a coordinated effort. And Darren Shearbaum, the Atlanta Police Chief, will now address you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chief.
Just give you an update and some additional information what the mayor provided. So this afternoon at approximately 4:50, The Atlanta 911 Center became aware of a report of an active shooter that was occurring at 1600 Clifton Road. This is right at the intersection of Clifton Road and CDC Parkway, immediately in front of the CDC campus. Officers from multiple agencies responded, from the campus, across the region, from our federal partners and our state partners responded to the scene. Officers arriving found a critically injured DeKalb County police officer that was down. He was immediately extracted from the scene and taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officers could still hear gunfire occurring inside the CVS drugstore that is right there at the intersection. So officers moved quickly to attempt to find the shooter and to neutralize the threat to the community. We later found the shooter on the second floor of the CVS. He had been struck by gunfire. We do not know at this time whether that was from officers or if it was self-inflicted. He was removed from the location by Atlanta Fire Rescue to render aid. He did pass at the scene. We also know that the CDC campus did receive multiple rounds into their buildings. Right now, as the mayor stated, we are not aware of any injury that occurred to anyone on that location. 4 other individuals did later arrive at the hospital. They were retreated for stress and anxiety symptoms. They were not injured in the shooting. And to reemphasize what the mayor stated, the children in the daycare center are unharmed. We have law enforcement and medical professionals with them, and we are coordinating the return of those children to their families. We've already put this out. We want to reemphasize it. The CDC leadership is communicating this to all parents, but the reunification site is at the Clifton School, which is located at 1900 Starvine Way, S-T-A-R-V-I-N Way in Decatur. And we want to again reassure all parents and loved ones that their children are okay. We do believe there was a single shooter, and we do believe that single shooter is deceased. Right now, the investigation is being conducted by the Atlanta Police Department's Complex Case Squad, by the GBI and the FBI in a joint investigation until we know more information as to what transpired. The Atlanta Police Department is lifting up the DeKalb County officer, the DeKalb County Police Department in our prayers, and I ask everyone that is watching this broadcast to do the exact same thing. And I want to commend the men and women of law enforcement from all across this region that when this community needed them, no one shirked from the danger. And every officer from multiple districts responded and immediately moved to end this threat. Thank you. Want to say anything?
Sure. Hi, I'm Paul Brown, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Atlanta Division. And like the Chief and the Mayor said, we immediately responded to the scene. At this time, we're not aware of any casualties on the campus of the CDC. But in conjunction with our partners, we're methodically clearing that to ensure that that is accurate and that is remains so. And then once that's done, we'll assist with processing the scene and conducting the investigation jointly with our partners.
Mayor, Chief, we'll get ready for questions. We'll start on this side. We may not be able to get to everyone, but we'll start with you, Rob, over to the mayor's right.
Right.
Good evening, Mayor. Is it believed right now that the CDC was targeted in this attack?
Well, I'll let Chief Sherbaum ask anything around the investigation. He'll be able to answer that. But right now, it's so preliminary. I read social media and I get calls from a number of you that have heard things about this individual's background. He's a white male, and he has he is a known person that may have some interest in certain things that I can't reiterate right now with any confidence until the investigation is fully conducted. But I think that in a short order, you'll know more about this individual and about some assumptions of his motives, but can't say right now.
All right. Can you tell us anything more about the suspect? What kind of weapon did he use? How many rounds went into the CDC building?
Chief, you want to?
No, yeah, we can tell you multiple rounds were fired. We can tell you that multiple rounds were fired. Both, we believe, at law enforcement and potentially at the CDC. Purposely, we can't say it definitively, but it would appear we can't rule that out right now.
Is that CVS a two-story store, or was he in some other kind of place above the store?
We believe it's a multiple-story building, but he was on the second floor of the building that houses the CVS.
Does he have a criminal record?
We can't release that at this time.
Did the man live in that building?
Allow me to let someone else ask a question. Anyone over here at New York Times?
So this shooting comes on the heels of a few other high-profile shootings, including the one at Fort Stewart, including numerous on Edgewood and some other neighborhoods. I'm curious to what extent can the city confront what seems to be a rash of gun violence without state-level intervention?
So your question around a number of high-profile shootings, Fort Stewart, here at Emory, and others across the nation and in the state of Georgia, is definitely one that we have to pay attention to. Mass shootings, active shooter scenarios should not become the norm. We have a number of individuals in this country that have access to high-powered weapons, and for individuals with those high-powered weapons that may have mental challenges, or those individuals with high-powered weapons that are angry, when they choose to use those weapons in a way that harms multiple people, we have to put an end to that in our society. So this is something we do have to have a national and a state, a full conversation across the nation and across the state of Georgia, not just in one city. As you see, this is a coordinated effort across DeKalb, across college campuses, the FBI, the GBI. As you see active shooters across the nation, we've just been added to the statistic.
Right here in black shirt. Allow her opportunity.
We're hearing that the officer passed away. Did he pass away?
Well, at this time, it is a DeKalb County officer, and we want to make sure that DeKalb County is able to respond to what's going on with that officer. We know that he was shot and critically injured, and at this time, as I stand here, I can't give you that information that you just asked. We have the PIO of DeKalb County here, and as I said, in short order, you will hear from the DeKalb County Chief and the DeKalb County CEO.
All right, over here.
Can I ask, why was the DeKalb officer there? I know this area is kind of on that border, but just talk about that, maybe Chief Schierbaum or you, Mr. Mayor.
I want to talk about how mutual aid and how we're all kind of together.
Well, this is an area that is part of the city limits, but inside of DeKalb County, so it's not uncommon for patrol patterns to cross for multiple jurisdictions that may share the space. We don't know why the officer was there. Was he going to work? Was he coming home from work? We don't know if he was on patrol. We will know that at the end of the investigation.
Hang on, Ryan. She's got it.
Do you want to give an update?
So we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter.
So you can.
Yes. Yes, we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter.
Can you give an update on the condition? There have been several media reports that he's passed away or she.
So we can't confirm that at this time. Like Mayor said previously, our chief, interim chief Pedrick, will be here to provide an update. I just don't have that information readily available.
Ryan, over here, Ryan.
So we are, both chief and mayor, if we can, we're getting reports that maybe the suspect who was known had some issues with the CDC because he was upset about a COVID vaccine and he thought it made him sick. Is there any way you guys can maybe address that, and maybe if he was targeting the CDC because of the vaccine?
We cannot confirm at this time. This is in the earliest stages of the investigation. The same questions you have, law enforcement has. And so everything that is the question of the nation, we're going to get the answer to, and we'll be able to report back as soon as we can.
All right, Univision. Question?
We're hearing this maybe for Cab, but was this officer a rookie officer? We heard basically he was almost ambushed a little bit when he actually arrived on scene.
So any information about the officer will come from interim chief Pedrick later this evening, including his status and how long he was with the department.
All right.
Is the white car with the trunk open and shot up, is that connected to the suspect?
It's part of the crime scene at this time. We can't confirm if it was the car that the suspect drove, but it is being searched by the police and it's being held as evidence.
All right. We're going to take the last question right here.
Do you guys have a timeline of when the gunfire was called in and how quickly officers responded and how quickly the suspect was?
4:50 p.m. is when the first call came in. Law enforcement arrived very, very quickly thereafter. Oftentimes when officers arrive, they're so quickly engaged in the scene they can't radio out. So we'll be reviewing all video to determine when the first officers arrived. But the response was from multiple agencies. I wish I could name everyone right now, but the citizens of the Atlanta region should be proud of their law enforcement today.
Mayor, you want to give a parting statement before we go?
Yeah, as Chief stated, this was a coordinated effort. When I was here around 5:15 or so, I was seeing not only DeKalb County and Atlanta, we were seeing Gwinnett County, we saw officers from Dunwoody, we saw, of course, Emory, the FBI, GBI, Georgia State Patrol. Everyone was responding because there were shots being fired, calls for shots being fired right there in front of the CDC, and then shots fired inside of the CVS. And so you're hearing, everyone responded. It was hundreds of officers as well as fire rescue. And at this time, we've spoken with Emory President Finvez, as well as all of the individuals at the CDC, the leadership there, and the leadership of DeKalb County, et cetera. Everyone will continue to give updates throughout this evening. This very same spot will be utilized by DeKalb County as they return from the hospital really soon, as they're talking with families. And as more information becomes available that we can share about the suspect that is now deceased, we will make sure that we share that, because we want you to know the mindset, what might have led to this, so that we never have it happen again. We want right now to give this update that the area is clear. No threats continue to exist, and we're going to start reuniting families with those children that are in that daycare. And again, the campus has the all clear sign. Stay out of that area right there in front of the CDC and where the CVS is, because it is an active investigation that's being led by APD in coordination with FBI, GBI, and of course with DeKalb County there. That's it at this time.
Thank you, everyone. For any updates, please make sure you follow the Atlanta Police Department social media. That's where we will have updates. That's also where we will let you know where we will have our next press conference, and we'll also try to send an email. Thank you, everyone.
To Mayor Dickens there, among others, I want to jump off one point that he was just talking about, reuniting family members and children. It's been an excruciating long 3 hours for people who have been separated from loved ones as people were on lockdown. We know that includes 92 children at a daycare at the CDC, a building that has bullet holes in the windows as we speak, had been under lockdown. Now parents can reunite with their kids. The address is 1900 Starvine Way. That's the Clifton School. So if you've not been able to see your kids, I know that's torture. You want to get to them as soon as you can. That's happening right now at the Clifton School, 1900 Starvine Way. That's 92 daycare children. We did hear the story of one mom who ran a mile because it was closer for her to get there on foot, and literally ran to the building to get her child out of daycare. So we're glad to say those reunions are going to be happening. And we heard the mayor emphasize, along with Chief Shearbaum, how grateful they are that there were no civilians, no people in the area who were hurt in this exchange on gunfire between the shooter and law enforcement. But it remains to be stressed that a DeKalb County police officer who was among the first to get there and to engage with that shooter with a barrage of rapid fire gunshots that we heard on video, the mayor is simply saying critically injured, but we have sources that say it's more serious than that.
Yeah, we knew right during the 5 o'clock hour how bad this was. We withheld some of that information out of respect for the DeKalb County Police Department, this officer's family, and law enforcement watching us. But we do know tonight that a DeKalb County police officer, first responding officer, took a barrage of gunfire and lost his life tonight due to the senseless acts of this suspect, who we have not yet identified. We do know the DeKalb County Police Department.
If you've ever tried to clean a garlic press,
tired of boring blankets? Now you can snuggle up with your memory.
All right, folks, looks like that continuous coverage has concluded out of Atlanta. You heard a pretty good recap from our sister station there. We'll just let you know as we plan out the next hour or so here on Live Impact News. It sounds like there might be another update coming from officials there in Atlanta. And so we'll be monitoring social media to get an idea of whether that will happen here during our stream, and we'll bring you updates. Of course, the big question mark, what is the latest status of that DeKalb County police officer who took that gunfire upon responding to this active shooter call. We heard officials there just moments ago stopping short of giving us the latest status on that officer, only saying that they were brought to the hospital. We're told Grady Memorial, which from my understanding there of the Atlanta area, that is the Trauma One center that they bring gunshots and critical injuries to try to save them. That officer went in critical condition to the hospital, but we do not know their latest status as of now. With that, folks, we are keeping an eye on a few other feeds in our area and beyond, so bear with us. It looks like we probably can pivot to, we just lost it, but we're going to try to turn this around for you if we can. We've got an update from authorities in Anaconda, Montana regarding the arrest of a suspect in a deadly shooting at a bar last week. We covered this for you earlier on WCNC Plus. He's a U.S. Army veteran who's suspected of killing 4 people. There was a manhunt that lasted 8 days and came to an end here today. We've got that press conference for you right now. This just wrapped up a few moments ago. So we'll bring it to you now, and we'll regroup afterwards to see if we have any updates out of Atlanta.
Good evening. 1 week ago today, devastation struck this small Montana community of Anaconda. 1 week ago today, Michael Paul Brown took the lives of 4 Montanans before
All right, we apologize for the technical issues. We are working on that. So essentially what we've got here, an update from officials regarding this long-standing manhunt. At this point, we have it down as 8 days that they were looking for this U.S. Army veteran. He was believed to be the person who killed those 4 people at that bar last week, and basically had officers searching all sorts of areas, including some pretty rough terrain that was outside of this area where this happened, Anaconda, Montana, as we mentioned. The gentleman in question, Michael P. Brown, 45 years old. Still a lot of questions out there as far as where he went, how he was taken into custody. So we were hoping to hear some of that information from this briefing we're about to turn around for you in just a few moments here. But in general, sounds like authorities believe he did flee into the foothills of that area near the town where that shooting happened. It's called the Owl Bar where it was. And there was a bartender and 3 patrons who were killed in that shooting. Got the briefing now, so let's go ahead and get back to that. Once again, we apologize for the technical issues.
Good evening. 1 week ago today, devastation struck this small Montana community of Anaconda. 1 week ago today, Michael Paul Brown took the lives of 4 Montanans before fleeing the scene. Our brave men and women in uniform didn't waste a second. Law enforcement jumped into action, began the search with the promise to not give up until they found this suspect. Today, I'm grateful to report that Michael Brown has been apprehended, arrested, and is in custody. Standing alongside me today are members of our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners who haven't stopped searching since the very beginning. They responded to every call. They followed up on every tip. They spent hours climbing over these mountains looking for this criminal. They used every resource available to them to search for him. Thank you does not cover what we owe to these brave men and women. Sacrifice, time away from families, placing their lives on the line to bring peace of mind back to this community and this criminal to justice. Before I hand it over to Attorney General Knudsen to share more about the actual arrest, I'd like to once again acknowledge the loss of the 4 victims. Daniel Edwin Bailey, Nancy Loretta Kelly, David Allen Leach, and Tony Wayne Palm, and extend our prayer in doing what you can to support those families. At this time, I'd like to invite Attorney General Knudsen to provide an update on the apprehension and the arrest.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Good afternoon. It's a good day. We got our man. Michael Paul Brown is in custody. He was arrested today, 1 week later at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon. That's roughly. He was apprehended just west of Anaconda, near the Ranch Bar, just south of Highway 1. There's a number of agencies we have to thank here. First of all, what I've been hearing just over and over is this really is an unprecedented level of cooperation. State agencies, local agencies, and federal agencies, this was seamless, folks. This is not the type of thing that you see very often. With all the federal partners, our state agencies, and our local law enforcement agencies working hand in hand to make sure that the right thing gets done here, it's nothing short of staggering. I want to thank Anaconda Deer Lodge Police Department, Montana DCI obviously was involved, the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Service. I really want to give them a special thank you. Marshal Service was a huge asset to us here today, all week, but today especially. They were directly involved with this apprehension. We had over 39 local, county, state, federal teams, well over 250 law enforcement personnel in the area. Specifically involved in the takedown today of Michael Paul Brown, the U.S. Marshals Service Fugitive Task Force, Montana DCI. I want to give a special shout out to the U.S. Marshals Specialized Team members, their SOG team and the RAM team, the Rapid Advance Manhunt team with the U.S. Marshal Service. Game changer for us, big help. Also involved, the Montana Highway Patrol. I'm very proud of the Montana Patrol troopers who were involved in this. They've been here all week. Big help to us. The U.S. Forest Service has been a tremendous help to us, and we're involved today. Great Falls PD were involved in the takedown today, and the Laurel Police Department. So thank you to all of our members. Look, this was a hard push. Yesterday we had about 130 personnel up on that hill pushing that area. We think that was directly correlated to flushing him out today, getting him down into an area that we know we had searched before. It's not someplace he'd been hiding. He was flushed out. So also thanks to the public. We had some tips come in, verified where we were, and we were able to move really quickly and get our suspect apprehended. So it's a great day for Montana. It's a great day for Anaconda. I hope you folks sleep well. We're probably going to go celebrate a little bit here, but this is a great day. So thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General. And now a few words from Anaconda Deer Lodge County Attorney Morgan Smith. Morgan?
Thanks, Governor. I want to talk right to the people of Anaconda. And I'm going to try my best. When Chief Souther and I first spoke about the terrible crime that occurred at the Owl Bar on Friday morning, there were two things that we discussed. The first of those was how do we keep Anaconda safe, and how do we collectively tell Anaconda that we're going to do that. Chief told me that the only press conference he wanted to be part of was the one where we got to come here and say, we got him. Chief and I have, of course, spent the last 7 days having many conversations, but Chief's only concern remained, how do we tell Anaconda we got him? Chief, I don't know where he ended up, but today's that day. The work that our local officers, standing arm in arm with U.S. Marshals, federal agents, and members from law enforcement communities all across Montana, the work that you all did was incredible. It's often tireless and thankless work, but I hope that you find that the work that you did, those of you that participated in any portion of what happened this week, that the entire community of Anaconda is going to sleep tonight and truly rest. In full transparency, for myself and many of us involved in this isn't the end. This is the beginning. I'm confident in the investigative work that has been done to this point, and I'm also incredibly confident in the folks that are going to continue to do investigative work to make sure we can prosecute this case to the fullest extent of the law. With the relief that comes today, I know that tomorrow will bring many questions. The manhunt has come to an end, but the homicide investigation remains ongoing. Details related to that investigation will be withheld, and that's to ensure the fairness and the integrity of the case as it moves forward. I cannot possibly find the words that are appropriate to thank everybody who has worked so hard this week. It's going to take us weeks to just write down the folks, the businesses, the individuals, the organizations, all of these people behind me that contributed in some way to this. Meals, snacks, beverages, lodging, a physical space.
Law enforcement officers from all 38 or 39 different jurisdictions that came together and really collaborated to bring a decisive conclusion to this search. And to the families of those that lost lives, may God bless you and keep you. At this time, we'll open up for questions. I would ask that you please raise your hand, state your name and outlet, and we'll do our best to answer. Over here.
I'm Duncan Adams, Montana Standard. Was the suspect armed when he was apprehended and did he resist?
I'm going to defer details about the arrest to law enforcement, or Austin, do you want to take it?
Yeah. We're going to be real careful about this, Duncan. I mean, was he technically armed? Yes, he was technically armed. I don't know how much further I want to go with that. I think that's as far as I'm going to go. Yeah, he had, there was a weapon on him.
Yes.
John Riley, Montana Development Network. My question is actually for the county attorney. When can we expect charges to potentially be filed, and his first appearance?
Sure. So in terms of what that is going to look like and how
All right, so some information there on the capture of that man who was sought in Montana, accused of that shooting at a bar that left 4 people dead. It sounds like he was actually found not too far from the area that was being searched, and it definitely was with this being, of course, a tight-knit town, something that shook folks a lot, and the fact that they knew that he was out there for several days. 8 days is the total for that manhunt. Let's go ahead and turn over to local story here, because this is definitely an emotional day for a Charlotte family, and quite frankly, from what we heard from them, a disappointing day. So back in December, there was a 23-year-old man, Ryan Zadrozny, who was killed after a drunk driver hit him, and the court case essentially just wrapped up here, and the family said that they were not satisfied with the outcome at all, and they also brought to light the fact that this person apparently has done this before, was convicted in a prior deadly DUI. Let's listen to what they told our Jesse Pierre just outside the courthouse.
Name and spell it.
First name's Kevin, last name is Wallace. Wallace.
And what is your relation to Ryan?
Uncle.
Uncle.
Yes.
And your name, ma'am?
Mary Wallace, and I'm grandma.
And what about yours, sir?
Sivaji Termella, Sivaji, and last name Turimella, and I was his friend. Yeah.
The judge said it best that we rarely see so many people pack a courtroom like this on the victim's side, flying from LA, from all over the country. What was it like being in there today at the closure of this entire case?
For me, it was surreal. No amount of punishment is really going to justify or do anything to bring Ryan back. I don't know the answer, but it's just the heartache just never ends.
Yeah. Talk about Ryan. Who was he?
It's just, I mean, the most perfect kid ever, which is, it's bizarre because you got the most perfect kid just being taken away from such a huge family. We're a really big family, really close. And it just seemed like, I mean, like every single day, myself, I think about him. And I know everybody else does too. It's just, I guess till the day we die, they say time, you know, but time doesn't help. At least not yet. Maybe eventually, but not yet, not at all.
Mary, would you mind sharing some memories of your grandson? What do you miss most of him?
Well, I have 12 grandchildren, but, you know, losing just one is horrible. And I just feel like his parents did everything right. I mean, they gave their life for him. A lot of parents go their own way, do their own thing. But Eileen and Stan, and especially Stan having no other son, you know, he was special to him. But they always went on vacations together. And Ryan was a grown man. Most kids at that age want to be with their friends. He was with them. He lived at home, which is very unusual. And just last summer, he went on vacation with them to Alaska to visit the sister. And, you know, he was an amazing kid and just like never did anything wrong, you know. And I just, my heart breaks every day, not so much for myself, but for his family, because they were so close and just so good and perfect and did everything right. It's just heartbreaking. And I do feel bad for the family of the boy man who murdered him. That's all I can call it, because it was murder. If you know you have a problem and you don't treat it and you go on taking your drugs and you do something, it's almost like you had a loaded gun. If you get in a car and you're high on drugs, but I feel bad for his family and for society in general.
What was he like as a friend?
Ryan was an extremely sweet and loving and charismatic and funny friend. I've known him since 6th grade. We were in the same classes together. We ran together, we ran cross country together. We caught Pokemon in 8th grade together. We went fishing in his lake house in college. We watched basketball games together. We played video games together during the COVID-19 pandemic, and he always had a way of making everyone feel loved and cared for, no matter who it was, no matter when it was, whether we're socially distant, whether we are 1,000 miles apart in LA and Maryland, or whether we're right next door to each other. He always had a way of making life feel fun.
You were one of many who flew, but you flew literally cross country to be here. Why did you feel the need to do that and be here for Ryan?
Because Ryan is a brother to me, honestly, and I know if the cards were flipped, he would be there, no questions asked. Myself, Ryan, and Kevin are really a band of brothers that we started in 6th grade, and we kind of have this unspoken pact that will always kind of be there for each other no matter what. And to see him taken from us far too soon is extremely heartbreaking, but doing stuff like this, coming out here and showing my support and advocating and showing how loving a person he was is the least I can do for someone like Ryan.
When we look at the fact that this chapter is closing, you know, do you feel like that gives a level of helping to get to closure at all?
Well, that may take time, but I just have to add, you know, and this may not be politically correct, but just so no other family has to go through what we're going through. This is the second time. I don't know if people realize that this happened 11 years ago. We, as a country, cannot build prisons fast enough and get these people off the streets and out of the country, if that's what it takes, to make this country safer so another family doesn't have to go through this. He could be out in X amount of time. This is all going to happen again to another family. We got to start, and we got to, whatever it takes, it's toughening the laws. The judge was limited to what, he's going to be limited to what he can give this murderer. We got to start. We got to start now. We got to build more jails. We got to get these people out of the country. Whatever it takes to make it safer for the next family.
And how do you continue to just kind of share Ryan's memory and, you know, live, I don't know, I'm trying to think.
Through him, his legacy.
Yes.
we just remember just remember Ryan, everything about him. We send pictures and videos that we have of him, and he had so many, you know, my sons and all my brothers' sons and daughters. It's such a huge family. They have so many videos, you know, the kids, these, you know, going back when the cell phones first came out. And they have tons and tons of videos and pictures, and we just, you know, share them with each other. And it's, yeah, that's and just talking about how great he was. And he did more in his short time on earth than most kids will do until they make 40, 50 years old. He made it to such a high level so fast and just got ripped away.
Yeah.
We really appreciate y'all's trust in honoring him and speaking with us. I know it's really difficult circumstances, but please give all the rest of the friends and family our best, though. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be sure to honor him as best we can tonight.
Yes, appreciate that so much.
Thank you. So we do have more information on this story on our website, WCNC.com, and inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. But essentially you hear family members of 23-year-old Ryan Zadronsky, speaking on their concerns with how justice was served today. They actually remarked on the fact that the suspect in this case, this DUI case, actually had done this before. A bit about the case itself. So Zadronsky was actually visiting Charlotte when he was crossing a street in Uptown, and Mache Darby was driving 105 miles per hour, driving while impaired, and struck Zadronsky. So really horrifying situation, and a family that, as you heard, is not healing and do not feel like they are getting closure from what has transpired in court. We're going to turn over to some national, really actually international news at this point. We've been following this earlier here on Live Impact News. We were bringing you coverage for a period of time of the president with this peace summit, this meeting at the White House today with leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan. And there was a signing that was going to take place, essentially, that would create basically a route, if you will, and it would be named after the president. Let's listen into that meeting right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you. It's a long time, 35 years. They fought, and now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. But it's a big, beautiful honor to welcome everyone to the White House for this very historic peace summit between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's really a great thrill for me. I love seeing good people get together, and that's what you have. You have two great leaders. I want to congratulate these two visionary people, Prime Minister Pashinyan and President Aliyev, for coming to Washington to sign this momentous joint declaration. It's a tremendously important document, and it's been a long time in coming. They were explaining before that so many times they thought they could get there. It never happened, just never happened. I also want to thank Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and their teams at the State Department. And I see that we have Chris Wright outside and Senator Steve Daines sitting right here. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. And Steve, thank you very much. And we have some other wonderful dignitaries, including the dignitaries from your country. But they provided tremendous diplomatic assistance. And Marco, congratulations. It's a big thing. Keep going. He's got many jobs. And then, of course, you would say Steve was quite influential. I call him Henry Kissinger, who doesn't leak. For more than 35 years, Armenia and Azerbaijan have fought a bitter conflict that resulted in tremendous suffering for both nations. They suffered gravely for so many years. Many tried to find a resolution, including the European Union. The Russians worked very hard on it, never happened. Sleepy Joe Biden tried, but you know what happened there. He tried for probably 12 minutes and didn't work out. And many other countries tried, and they were unsuccessful. But with this accord, we've finally succeeded in making peace, and we just left the Oval Office where we signed voluminous documents and very important elements to the agreement. The country of Armenia and Azerbaijan are committing to stop all fighting forever, open up commerce, travel, and diplomatic relations, and respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, so importantly. And I just spent a lot of time with these two men. I think they're going to have a great relationship. You want to know the truth? They didn't see each other that much, but they probably will. I think they're going to have. I think you two are going to have a great relationship. I have no doubt. And if you don't, call me and I'll straighten it out. Okay. Very importantly, we have also resolved the key issue that foiled previous negotiations. This declaration establishes what they are calling a great honor for me. I didn't ask for this. The Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which is a special transit area that will allow Azerbaijan to get full access to its territory of Nakhchivan while fully respecting Armenia's sovereignty. So they're going to be able to really live and work together, and it's amazing. So that's a very important territory, I guess, very special territory to you, and now they work together. Armenia is also creating an exclusive partnership with the United States to develop this corridor, which could extend for up to 99 years. And then they promise in 99 years they'll extend it, right? You'll promise. But we anticipate significant infrastructure development by American companies. They're very anxious to go in to these two countries, and they're going to spend a lot of money, which will economically benefit all three of our nations. This is incredibly positive news for the future of the entire region, and it's a very important region, as you know. Additionally, the U.S. is signing a bilateral agreement with both countries to expand cooperation in energy, trade, and technology, including AI. And in terms of energy, Chris is here representing our country, and there's nobody better than Chris Wright. And Chris, I understand it's very fertile. It's a very fertile area. So I appreciate everything you've done. You've done amazingly well. We've got the gasoline prices coming way down from where they were, and it's really been something to watch. We are drilling like we haven't drilled in many years, I guess I could say ever before, and we're just started. We're also lifting restrictions on defense cooperation between Azerbaijan and the United States of America. The president, that's a big deal. Is that important to you? I think so. That was pretty good. They're very happy about that. So am I. As president, my highest aspiration is to bring peace and stability to the world. Today's signing follows our success with India and Pakistan. They were going at it. They were going at it big, and they were two great leaders that came together just prior to what would have been a tremendous conflict, as you know, a nuclear conflict probably. Also the Congo and Rwanda. Now that was one which was going on for 31 years. You have them beat. 35 years you had them beat. But that was going on for 31 years, and we have it all done, and people are very happy. That was a rough one. That was nasty. 7 7 million people that they know of died. Also, just recently, Thailand and Cambodia, that was one that was just starting, that 2,000 people were dead on the border, but it was just starting. And I was talking to one of the two nations on trade, and I said, I'm not going to sign a trade deal if you guys are going to fight, and I got the other one. And again, great leadership, Thailand and Cambodia, and before it got started beyond that first couple of days, we stopped the war. And they've had wars periodically, very much as you two have had long-term wars, and we got it stopped. And the two, again, I find in all cases, they're great leaders. If they didn't agree, I would say they're lousy leaders, to be honest with you, but they did agree. And so Thailand and Cambodia, Serbia and Kosovo, we got something stopped that was ready to start. We didn't like that one. We didn't like it at all, and we saved a lot of lives. And numerous others. In addition, as you know, we took out the nuclear capability of Iran. And to use a term that people tried to dispute without any knowledge, it was obliterated. That's been confirmed by the Atomic Energy Commissions, everybody, that's totally obliterated. They might try again, but they're going to have to try a new site because they are, and I want to just say our military, we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment and military manufacturing anywhere in the world, nobody even close. And that sort of proved it. So getting rid of that threat from the Middle East was very big. And I think a lot of people are going to be joining right now the Abraham Accords. It's going to be very important. So hopefully we're going to have many more successes. I hope we're not going to have too many more in this field because hopefully we're not going to be seeing too many more wars. But I came in and this whole world was on fire. All these things were sort of happening. We've only been here for 6 months. The world was on fire. We took care of just about every fire, and we're working on another one that you're reporting on very strongly with Russia, Ukraine, and we'll have some more information for you a little bit later. But I want to ask these two very special people. Again, I've gotten to know them. They're very special people, and I think they have the potential to have a great personal relationship, which is always good, but also a great just relationship. And if I might, may I ask you to say a few words, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, thank you for invitation. It's a big honor to be invited by the President of the United States for this historic event. Actually, we are writing a new history in a bilateral interstate relationship between the United States and Azerbaijan. We are starting the path towards a strategic partnership. The Charter on Strategic Partnership will be elaborated within several months, and that is a historic achievement for Azerbaijan, because to be in the format of strategic partnership with the greatest country of the world is a great opportunity and also a very big responsibility. And this strategic partnership format embraces so many important areas: mutual investment, trade, energy, connectivity, transit, AI, defense sales, counterterrorism. So all these areas where we had and hopefully will have very active cooperation in the future. So it opens a lot of opportunities for Azerbaijan to continue its path of development, to diversify its economy, to keep unemployment low as it is today, and to look to the future with great optimism. Also, I'm very grateful to Mr. President that he today lifted the restrictions which have been imposed on Azerbaijan back in 1992, just only 1 year after Azerbaijan restored its independence. These restrictions have been imposed on us. So after 33 years, these restrictions have been lifted just today. So really, it's a day which will be remembered by the people of Azerbaijan with a feeling of pride and gratitude to President Trump for his attitude to Azerbaijan, for his vision, for not only for our region. We were exchanging views today, and I said that within several months he managed to put an end to conflicts in Asia, in Africa, and now in Southern Caucasus. What we could not achieve for more than 30 years, We had to sacrifice lives. We had to fight two very bad wars with a lot of casualties. And if not for President Trump and his team, and our great friend, Mr. Witkov and his team, probably today, Armenia, Azerbaijan would have been again in this endless process of negotiations. So really, it's a historic day. We are today establishing peace in the Caucasus, which will open great opportunities, not only for our region. And as President Trump correctly mentioned, the Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which will create new connectivity lines, which will lift the walls, and which will create connectivity opportunities for so many countries, with investments, with prosperity, with stability. You know, Azerbaijan and Armenia, we became independent at the same time as a result of the collapse of the Soviet Union. But at that time already, we were at war. So we lost a lot of years just being preoccupied with wars and occupation and bloodshed. So today, historic day, also is because we bring peace. President Trump brings peace to Caucasus, and we're grateful for that. And I'm sure that Armenia and Azerbaijan will find courage and responsibility to reconcile, and also the people will reconcile. We will turn the page of standoff, confrontation, and bloodshed, and provide bright and safe future for our children. So I'm very happy because today we're writing the great new history. And once again, Mr. President, thank you for all what you are doing for us, for our region, and for the whole world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great leaders. How long have you been in the leadership position?
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That means he's tough and smart. And it's an amazing part of the world. Congratulations.
Thank
what
you.
a great honor to be involved.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have reached a significant milestone in Armenia-Azerbaijani relations. We're laying a foundation to write a better story than the one we had in the past. This breakthrough would be simply not have been possible without President Trump's personal engagement and his resolute commitment to peace in our region. The initiating of peace agreement will pave the way to end the decades of conflict between our countries and open a new era based on the full respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of each other. Today's declarations, which President Trump personally will sign as well as witness, gives confidence and assurance that we are opening a chapter of peace, prosperity, security, and economic cooperation in the South Caucasus. In this context, allow me to highlight the agreement on opening transport communications in the region based on the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and jurisdiction. I'm particularly thrilled that together with the U.S., Armenia will work to bring to life the TRIP, Trump Road for Peace and Prosperity, a connectivity project that will unlock the entire region. TRIP will unlock strategic economic opportunities that will create long-term benefits. It will.
Folks, we are pivoting quickly. We are getting a breaking update right now from officials in Atlanta regarding that deadly shooting where the suspect is dead and at last check officers in critical condition.
But what I can say, it is with profound sadness that we announce the loss of the life of one of our very own DeKalb County police officers. This officer responded to the call as he was trained to do. And during that incident, he received gunfire and he lost his life in this incident. He was committed to serving the community. At this time, we're asking for the community's prayers for his family his friends, his loved ones, and the entire DeKalb County Police Department family. It's a noble profession that we all do. We answer the call to serve our community, and he gave his life with a commitment to serve others, and he should be respected for that. At this time, we are not going to release his name with respect for the family, but we will provide his name and photograph at a later time. We ask for your prayers and your thoughts during this difficult time, especially for his family and for all of the officers involved in this incident and the DeKalb County Police Department. Thank you.
Good evening. Of course, I'm Lorraine Cochran Johnson, DeKalb County CEO. And today is a very dark day in DeKalb County as we stand before you during the loss of one of our beloved officers. This evening there is a wife without a husband. There are 3 children, 1 unborn without a father. There is a mother and a father, as well as siblings, who also share in this traumatic loss. This evening, my heart goes out to the family, as well as the DeKalb County family, and to our frontline responders, to our officers, who in this case simply answered the call. These are individuals who run towards danger when we have the ability to run away. So tonight, it is with profound sadness that I stand here and I say to all of those who serve as frontline responders and to our officers that we are here to support you, and to this family and to my DeKalb County family during this time. Let's join together to give this family the support that it needs during this traumatic loss. Thank you.
So those are the official statements at this time. We will not take questions right now. We do plan to have an updated statement for you as we receive more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
A really sad update that we just received out of Atlanta. As you just heard, officials there confirming that the DeKalb County police officer, who was in critical condition at one point following this active shooter situation, has perished. Sadly, hearing that he left behind a family, including a wife, 2 children, and 1 child on the way. We will, of course, be bringing you updates on the very latest with the situation. Of course, as we mentioned before, the shooter situation is at a conclusion. There's still obviously an investigation underway, but the lockdown and the shelter in place is lifted. And a lot of questions remaining about the motive of this suspect, who we are told is also now dead. We'll turn back to this briefing with the president and leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan as they signed that peace agreement during this peace summit at the White House earlier today.
Political courage and determination. But what is most important is that it requires faith in the cause. As it is said in the Holy Bible, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. May God enlighten this way. Thank you, and my congratulations to all of us, President Aliyev, to you, to all of us, colleagues from Azerbaijan, Armenia, United States, and all the people of our region, all the people of our countries, and my congratulations to the world, because, as I said, it will definitely make world a better place. Thank you.
President of the United States, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia will now sign the joint declaration on the outcomes of the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity Summit.
That's really
They will
beautiful.
sign 3 copies in English. The President of the United States signs as a witness to the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, affirming their path to peace, stability, and prosperity. We kindly ask that all guests remain seated for the signing of the documents.
That is so great, and we'll hold up, how about holding up that document, all right? Well, thank you. This is really a big day, and we have some other big announcements, but I didn't want to make them because I don't want to do anything that could even, in a little way, overshadow what's taken place today. 35 years of death and hatred, and now it's going to be love and respect and success together. And I didn't really want to do anything that would in any way overshadow. I don't think it can be overshadowed when you're at war and so many people have suffered and so many people have been killed, and now you're going to have great peace. And I look forward to that corridor, because that corridor sounds, I'm going to have to get over there. I'll bring Senator Daines with me, and we're going to have to get over there, Steve. So, but this is a really great achievement, and I congratulate you. You're 2 incredible leaders. You're going to go down in history. And I've read the whole thing about how long it took, and you thought you were there and people let you down, and sometimes you probably let people down. Maybe, I don't know how it works, but that's the way it usually does. But this is something that is very, very special. So I don't want to get in the way of it at all, but we'll take a few questions, maybe at least slightly related, but we have some other things to announce later on in the day. Peter, please.
Related, just because you mentioned the elusive peace in Ukraine. Who is holding up this Ukraine ceasefire summit? Is it Putin or is it Zelensky?
Well, I think it's, that one is, as you know, we've been working on a lot of these deals. We've closed every single one of them all throughout the world, and that's the last of them. And they're losing, Peter, about 6, maybe even 7,000 soldiers every single week. Russia, as you know, lost almost 25,000 over the last month and a half, and Ukraine lost just a small number, fewer. It's a lot of people are dying, and I think we're getting very close. And we're going to be announcing later on. We're going to have a meeting with Russia. We'll start off with Russia, and we'll announce a location. I think the location will be a very popular one for us. But we'll be announcing that a little bit later. I just don't want to do it now because of the importance of what we just did.
And I completely understand
Yeah, please,
that. Just a follow-up. Are you surprised that Zelensky hasn't figured out by now, in years of war, how to deal with you and to deal with Putin without needing permission to make concessions from his parliament or from a national referendum?
Well, he's going out and getting what he needs. You know, he's not authorized to do certain things. I said, well, you're going to have to get it fast because, you know, we're getting very close to a deal. And he's doing that, and he's working with the European nations, and they're terrific people, terrific leaders, NATO. And as you know, I became very friendly with them. They agreed to go from 2% to 5%, 2% that they didn't pay to 5% that they've already paid. It's trillions of dollars. So we're working together very closely. But no, in all fairness to President Zelensky, he's getting everything he needs to assuming we get something done. But I'll be meeting very shortly with President Putin, it would have been sooner, but I guess there's security arrangements that unfortunately people have to make. Otherwise, I'd do it much quicker. He would too. He'd like to meet as soon as possible. I agree with it. But we'll be announcing that very shortly, okay? And location. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, with this meeting with Putin, is this Russia's last chance to achieve peace? And do you expect Ukraine to make any type of territorial concession?
Yeah, I don't like using the term last chance. Look, it's, look, this is two very, very smart people. They've been going at it and their predecessors also very smart. They've been going at it for 35 years. It's tough. And, when those guns start going off, it's awfully tough to get them to stop. It really does. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president. There was no reason for it. So many people are killed, so much cultural destruction. Those magnificent towers, the most beautiful in the world. The spires were considered the most beautiful in the world. They're all in a million pieces, laying on the ground, all obliterated, knocked into a million pieces. So sad. But millions of people have died, and very, very much set in their ways. A lot of people were set in their ways, but I think we're getting close. I mean, this was not my war. This was Biden's war. But the European Union has been great. As you know, they're purchasing equipment from us. They have a lot of money. And they're spending a lot of money on buying equipment. We're not spending money, but we are supplying them equipment. They're paying for it. And I think, I think that a lot of things happened recently that would make this go forward. I'm not going to mention anything having to do with India, but maybe that had an impact. But what really had an impact was NATO has stepped up in terms of their spending on buying military equipment. We're in for, probably through Biden and his people, $350 billion. $350 billion. When they hear these numbers, you're saying that's a lot of money. $350 billion the United States has spent on that. It should have spent nothing because it should have never happened. It would have never happened. And Europe is in for over $100 billion, which is, it should be the opposite if we were in for anything, but it should be the opposite. And I will say that Europe wants to see peace. The European leaders want to see peace. President Putin, I believe, wants to see peace, and Zelensky wants to see peace. Now, President Zelensky has to get all of his everything he needs, because he's going to have to get ready to sign something, and I think he is working hard to get that done.
Will Zelensky have to give up territory, Mr. President?
Well, you're looking at territory that's been fought over for 3.5 years with, a lot of Russians have died, a lot of Ukrainians have died. So we're looking at that, but we're actually looking to get some back and some swapping. It's complicated. It's actually nothing easy. It's very complicated, but we're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both. And but we'll be talking about that either later or tomorrow or whatever. Yeah, please. Say it.
If I could ask a question of your guests and also of you.
Yeah.
Of the guests, will the Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh be allowed to return? And also, do you have any thoughts on the talk about President Trump winning the Nobel Peace Prize? And for President Trump, you're working on resolving 2 other major conflicts. In Gaza, you've spoke of resettling the Gazans. The country of Somaliland has expressed potential interest if you were to diplomatically recognize their independence. Are you inclined to do so? And also, did President Putin present an award to Mr. Witkoff during their recent visit?
He likes Mr. Witkoff, I can tell you that. That's true. Please, go ahead.
I think President Trump deserved to have a Nobel Peace Prize, and we will defend that, and we will promote for that, and that's obvious. So, and today's event, I think, is a very bright expression of that, and hopefully you will invite us to
front row. You'll be front row.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
We are in favor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I have a suggestion?
Yes.
So maybe we agree with Prime Minister Pashinyan to send a joint appeal to Nobel Committee to award President Trump with the Nobel Peace Prize, because from the leaders of the countries which were at war for more than 3 decades, having this historic signature here, it really means a lot. This is tangible result of President Trump's leadership, and no one could have achieved that. There have been many presidents here since beginning of 90s, and the so-called Minsk process, which, by the way, today we put an end to with my Armenian colleague, started in 1992. So negotiation under the auspices of OSCE continued for more than 3 decades without any result. So who, if not President Trump, deserves the Nobel Peace Prize? I don't want to go into the history of some very strange decisions of the Nobel Peace Committee to award the prize for someone who didn't do anything at all. But President Trump in 6 months did miracle. So I think that my Armenian colleague will support it, and judging by the reaction of the audience, I think as soon as we come back, we will agree to issue a joint letter. And hopefully, and I also join when President is awarded, we hope that he will invite us to the ceremony.
You certainly will be. Thank you very much.
Do we have draft to sign now?
Well, we'll see what happens.
We already like to sign.
Thank you very much. It's very nice. We're looking into that right now. Good question, actually, and another complex one, as you know, but we're working on that right now. Somaliland.
Mr. President, thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, have you spoken to Russian President Putin yet, and would you go to Russia or Ukraine, and what exactly would you say
We'll
to him?
be announcing a location in maybe a little while, and I think you'll be very happy. We'll see what happens, right? All we can do is do our best. We've been working on this one for a long time. This is a very complicated one also. This was extremely complicated, but we made it less complicated, and we had 2 very brilliant people on my right and my left. They understood right and my left.
Judging by...
If I ever said that you would say, this guy couldn't have solved the problem. You know what? I consider them both great, okay? And you know what? They're going to be even greater. But and they're very different in many ways, but they have a lot in common. But they're both great as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, please. It's an interesting question, right? That would have been a hell of an answer if I said, well, I think I like this one or that one. No, we don't do that. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, first of all, thank you for bringing peace to South Caucasus, something that no one has been able to achieve in 35 years.
Thank you.
That's number one. We also noticed that you think highly of the commitments that the sides have taken on and assumed. However, considering the long history of conflict and the fact that this is not a legally binding document, will there be consequences if at some point one of the sides takes a step back?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be very good. And I told them, I gave them a personal commitment. If there's, there's always little problems here and there, right? The big ones have been solved. These are the giant ones have been solved. But if there's conflict, they both know they're going to call me and we're going to get it straightened out.
And it's worth noting here, as we are about to turn things over to the next hour of programming, that the president did eventually announce where that meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin will happen and when. It will be actually next Friday, and it will happen in the state of Alaska. Still a lot of things about the meeting that are unclear. Will Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky be there? What else will be discussed? We will wait and see. We'll keep you posted. Thanks for joining us here on Live Impact.